Raiders
Patrick
defense
Mahomes
played
hasn't
great.
looked like himself all year. We've been waiting for him to show up and show out.
I don't know how long he can continue being the running back and the quarterback, but today it worked out for them.
As soon as they get down like a score, they just start trying to like take shots and go for like a big play.
Yeah, okay, good morning, afternoon, and evening. It's the guy you should believe in. Dropping heat like every season. Underdog like Willie Beeman. Classic
Anyways,
like Dom singing.
The
Blasting
NFL
like
happened
Dom
today.
singing.
It was Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
A lot of dookies were taken on people's chests today.
I love it. I mean, I'm so happy.
Nah, it was a good day.
It was a Christmas miracle. The Raiders beat the Chiefs. God bless them. God bless them.
Right in front of Taylor Swift's face.
The fact that Aiden O'Connell had 62 passing yards, 9 for 21, and they won that football game. That's a Christmas miracle.
What was the stat? The stat was like, this is the first time a rookie quarterback has ever beaten Patrick Mahomes in the history of Patrick Mahomes playing.
Yeah.
And then I looked at my dad. I was like, well, Aiden O'Connell didn't really play the game today. Like Max Crosby, is the MVP today. Like Max Crosby in their defense, they scored 2 touchdowns.
That man is the definition of Black Force energy.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about it. The reason why Max is so good is because like pissy, like getting in people's heads and piss them off. This is a job for him. That's all it is. So like he'll like 5 seconds after the play, come over. Like doesn't
he was messing with Pat the first game and he kept it going, bro. He on business. He's standing on business.
But the thing is, it's just a job for him. Like that's my job, is to get into your head. And that's what makes him so great.
We need more of that in the NFL. We need more of that in sports.
That's how it always is when they play each other.
Yeah.
Like in that
you
QB,
guys talk.
that
I
QB dog,
haven't
that's how it
auto
was.
gained my stuff, so I'm gonna auto gain while you guys.
You know what's crazy about this game is Pat Mahomes was the leading rusher for KC. He had 53. He had 53 rushing yards, 10 carries for
Pacheco
53
could
rushing
not.
yards.
They were not used. Like Pacheco was not being used.
I turned on the game late, but I was. I mean, look, the Chiefs keep losing, and granted, the Broncos lost today, but literally we can still win the division. Like, here's the crazy part: we might miss the playoffs if we don't win the division, but we still can win the division. Isn't that a weird scenario?
Yeah, like you said, Chiefs keep losing. Broncos are on top.
Like, well, I mean, we're 2 games back, but there's a world where if we win out, we have a better division record than the Chiefs, and we'd have the same record if they lose out. If we went out, they lose out, we'd have the same record, and we'd have a better. I believe we'd have a better division record, and we would make the playoffs, and the Chiefs would miss altogether. Well, depending on what the other teams do, but yeah, like there's a scenario where either we win the division or we miss the playoffs, which is really weird to me. I feel like that doesn't happen often, where you're either like, you know what I mean?
Well, I was looking at the divisions this morning because my dad asked me like, what can it take for the Seahawks to make the playoffs? I forget what it was, but they just have to.
Why does your dad care? That's such a weird team to be fans of.
The Seahawks, they're the closest NFL team.
But I feel like your dad is like not a Seahawks fan.
No, of course he is. He lives here.
That's terrible.
So he was asking me that.
I had so much respect for.
He has to beat like the Seahawks have to beat like 2 shamble teams to like make the playoffs, whatever. But this year has been so competitive for the playoffs. Like everybody's like in the running, and every division has like a team, except for I forget what they're called, but the division with the Saints, the Bucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that division shambles. Every other division has a team.
Bro, the Ravens division, all 4 might make the playoffs.
You got the Colts division. Everyone's tied.
Like this year's super competitive.
Let's take a look.
Just go through them. They're super competitive.
So, do you want to go through the divisions or currently what the playoffs look like?
Trav, what do you think?
We'll just go through the playoffs. That makes more sense.
Yeah, just go through the playoffs.
Okay.
So Baltimore cements their spot number 1, 12-3. Well, not cements, but they're standing up there. It seems like they're not coming down. Miami then is 2, 11-4. KC is 3 right now at 9-6. Jacksonville is 8-7. Cleveland is 10-5. Buffalo is 9-6, and then Indy is 8-7. That is the playoffs currently.
I
In the
think
hunt.
Jacksonville's getting out of there.
No, in the hunt. Houston is 8-7. Pittsburgh's 8-7. Cincinnati's 8-7. Las Vegas is 7-8, and then the Broncos are 7-8. Everyone else has been eliminated. Currently, we are the basement of the AFC if we were to jump in. We'll get to the rest of that in a second. NFC side, Niners 11-4. They are guaranteed a bye week. Yeah. They're guaranteed the bye week. We got Philly at 2, 11-4. Detroit right now locked in for sure into a playoff spot, 11-4. Tampa
First
Bay,
time in 30 years.
30 years, baby. Got to give it.
Tampa Bay 8-7. Dallas 10-5. Rams right now are in the playoffs, 8-7. Seattle is in the playoffs right now, 8-7. And then in the hunt, we have Minnesota at 7-8, Atlanta at 7-8, Green Bay at 7-8, New Orleans at 7-8, and surprisingly, they are not out of the playoffs. Chicago 6-9. They are currently not eliminated yet. Their playoff hopes are still alive. That being said, here, the Jags are going to be in the playoffs. Like no matter what we like whether we like it or not. They're in the playoffs.
I feel like there's better teams that should have clinched the
sure,
spot.
But Indiana still could win and be in the playoffs, but then Jacksonville's still going to be in the playoffs because they have a better record than all those teams that are in the hunt right now. So like let's say Indy takes that spot and they jump from 7-4. Then they just switch. Jacksonville just switches down to 7. They're still in the playoffs. Like unless they lose out, then Jacksonville doesn't slide out, but Indy would be the 4 seed.
Yeah, but you see what I mean when we're reading off all those names? Like all these names have great potential. Going into the playoffs, like all these names were like, ooh, they could do something. I mean, like we have Dallas, which is what were they, like the 4th seed?
I think the playoffs is going to be more exciting on the NFC side than it is the AFC side. I think Baltimore, obviously, they have the bye. Miami's going to win their first round against they're going to win their first round against whoever they play, whether it's Indiana or Jacksonville. And then whether it's the Broncos or KC, they play Buffalo. And if they continue to play the way they are, they're going to win that game. And then Cleveland's going to wax, whether it's the Colts or Jacksonville. Wax them. So, I mean, it's not going to be – the NFC to me is more interesting when we're talking about playoffs than the AFC. I think the first round is pretty straightforward.
I don't know. I feel like the AFC, everyone's even right now. Like, I don't think there's really anybody sticking out besides, like, the Ravens and the Bills maybe right now.
I think Miami is. They're proving to me, at least Miami is proving to me right now that they can win the gritty game. They don't have to be like, we didn't love what happened with Dallas, that it was a close game, but it does show us that they can win the gritty game, which we didn't think they could. We just thought they were a blow 'em out team. So,
well, to be fair, it's what it showed is Mike McDaniels has the ability to put away the pride for getting Tyreek touchdowns and being that blowout team and just go for field goals when he needs it. That was a problem. What was it against Kansas City? That was the problem. They were in field goal range like 3 times and they didn't go for the field goal. They went for it on 4th down to try and get a touchdown.
I think KC, it's a different against Dallas versus KC. I feel like it's a little different because I feel like against KC.
Today, KC versus
I thought you were talking about Miami side. I was gonna say I feel like that's a different story because you're trying to set the tone for the playoffs against KC, but against Dallas, you're just trying to win the game.
No, I'm praising Miami for being able to let go of their ego and just shoot 5 field goals to win the game instead of going for those touchdowns, which is what KC didn't do. They were in field goal range like 3 times to hit a field goal. I know that I think his name's Butler.
Butker.
Harrison Butker. Yeah.
I know he missed last week. He missed a field goal, and then his first field goal today he missed it. So that kind of played into why they didn't go for field goals. But at the same time, right when you're in field goal range, I think at minimum 3 times, and you guys don't go for it, and you guys don't score on those drives.
That wins a game. That wins the game if they take.
I was thinking the exact same thing. That first one that they didn't take and they went for it, because if they would have taken it, it would have been a 10-point game with like 4 minutes left. And I'm like,
And
that would
that's
have been
nothing
like
for
with
Patrick
the
Mahomes.
with the Chiefs, with Pat Mahomes, like that's like perfect.
No, and then even right before halftime, they were inside the 30 before, like with 2 minutes left before the half. They didn't kick a field goal.
I think it goes to show, if Aiden O'Connell can win a game against the Chiefs throwing for 62 yards, imagine with a real quarterback. I'm serious. Think about when Bill's there next year. Think about when Bill's there next year, and then they have a real quarterback under center. They might be scary as hell.
Well, okay, to be fair, Patrick definitely did not look like himself. Kind of like how Brock Purdy looked.
But he hasn't looked like himself all year.
But the defense played insane.
Okay, but Patrick Mahomes hasn't looked like himself all year. We've been waiting for him to show up and show out. And he's had moments. He's had moments, but he hasn't been himself this year.
I'm not gonna blame it on Patrick Mahomes, though, bro.
I'm not blaming. I'm just saying, bro hasn't looked like himself this year. And there's reasons for that, obviously, drops and otherwise. But he hasn't looked like himself this year because we saw him last year, the same cast. There's nothing different outside of Juju, which to me, Juju's not that like great, you know? So it's like, it's the same cast and you're running the ball better this year, in fact. So what's your excuse?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering what you guys have to think about that. Why is Patrick Mahomes not playing at this elite level that we've seen him play for the past, it's been 3 years, correctly?
Personally, I think it's a combination of things. I think it's one, he's fed up with the Travis Kelce noise. Like, thankfully, it's died off with Taylor Swift. But I genuinely think that was a distraction earlier in the year. And two, I think he's lost faith in all of his receivers. And three, I think he's so used to being able to just play the backyard style of football and it works, and it's not working right now, and it's driving him nuts.
Yeah, well, I said this to my dad today because he was asking me the same question, and I said basically the same thing. What made them so good is the ability to not play regular football, their ability for Travis Kelce to not run the right route, the ability for Travis Kelce to lateral.
Which he was pissed today,
right? That was what made them so great. Problem is, if you're not on your A game, you can't win football games. You have to be on your A game every single time you play to be able to play that sort of scrambling. Everybody's in a frenzy and they still make it work.
I'm looking up stats. I'm not ignoring you guys. I'm looking at Patrick Mahomes stats this year. Go ahead.
But yeah, that's just how it is. Like simple football, you can have a mediocre game, a bad game, but your scheme and the way you guys play, you rely. We saw the Bills with Josh Allen. Josh Allen only threw for like 65 yards, but James Cook cooked, and they just used him to win them that game. You can't do that when your entire offense's personality is based off of being different, doing trick plays, making all this crazy stuff happen. It only works when you're on top of your game. Trav, what do you think?
Well, I think like what I noticed today watching the game was like, and even like the past couple of weeks, as soon as they get down like a score, they just start trying to like take shots and go for like a big play. When I think like their best like stuff comes from like running these like tight sets where they're running little crosses with Travis Kelce for 7 yards, like just slowly working the ball upfield. So I just feel like when I was watching the game with my dad and my uncle, I'm like, why are they trying to they're down like 10 points. Why are they trying to shoot it downfield 60 yards? Like, there's no reason to do. There's plenty of time left. Like, play it slower, run the ball a couple times when you're running backs, and throw something short instead of trying to go for this deep bomb all the time.
Yeah, I think that's a great analysis because at the beginning of the game, Travis was playing great. Travis had this little, I think it was literally like a little screen pass set up.
That's another thing is Travis Kelce.
And he ran it for like 20 yards, stiff-armed a guy through the ground, and then he was fired up, ready to go. But I think you're exactly right. As soon as they get down, they start trying to rely on the magic instead of relying on the scheme in the plays.
Well, it becomes a question of was it was it a mirage all along?
I don't think it can be a mirage for that long.
But don't you think there's a factor? I was thinking about this today with the Raiders, and especially with watching Max Crosby. We talk about how he's a menace, right? But everyone feared Patrick Mahomes when they stepped on the field. But when you get a guy in Max Crosby that's like, I don't care who you are, I'm going to put your head in the dirt. Like it does something for your team to where it's like, no, we don't have to be afraid of him. He's not like he was a one-man army. He's not anymore. We have our own.
Well, it's just the defensive personality for Oakland. Like, it's not even just Max; it's their entire defense. We're watching these guys.
But everyone's kind of had that. Everyone's had that chip on their shoulder where they've been kind of pushing Mahomes around a little bit this year, doing stuff after the play, talking mess to him. Like everyone is kind of woken up to like, okay, say what you want, whine how you want, but I'm better.
Yeah, and if Brock Purdy continues to be great, which we all hope he does continue to be great, same thing's going to happen to him. Because if you can't stop the way that he plays the game of football, you have to get inside of his head.
I don't think so because he's not. Brock is not a flashy guy to where Brock doesn't do things that piss you off. Patrick Mahomes is the guy that pisses you off. Like you've got him pinned essentially, and then he gets out and he's able to throw the ball 20 yards down the field. Whereas Brock Purdy he just makes the right play, right? To where you're not like, I don't think that's going to happen with Brock Purdy because he's just not a guy that like boils your blood. He doesn't piss you off because he doesn't do spectacular things. He just makes the right play.
Yeah, but he's also a backup who just got his position and now he's doing great, right? The confidence really hasn't set in for him. I think when it was Patrick Mahomes' rookie year, right, he was a little bit like we wouldn't have seen him yell at refs his rookie year, like sort of either. I think
he's frustrated in general, but yeah.
Yeah, but I think I think when we're talking about Max Crosby, his job is to get inside your head and piss you off. I think that more people are going to start doing that to Brock Purdy if he continues being great, because that's the one way you can stop one of those quarterbacks is getting them out of their game.
Well, I think anyone's going to talk crap to you and like the Chiefs have been dominant. Yeah, when why do you think they talk to Patrick Mahomes? Because everyone wants to beat Patrick Mahomes because he's the best quarterback in the league.
It's like a college rivalry game every single time the Chiefs go and play. Because everybody's trying to beat Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
Well, then it starts to ask the question is is Patrick Mahomes mentally tough enough to deal with it? Which we'll see. But
yeah, we'll see.
I just this is huge. Like especially just for the Raiders, like the Raiders organization themselves, but then for playoff implications, like we've talked about, this game was really important, and no one I guarantee you there is not a lot of people that thought the Raiders would come out and do what they did, especially with a guy in what was his name? I think is it Zaire White or is it Zach White? It is Zamir White, 22 carries, 145 yards. Crazy. Is
that a running back?
Yeah. He went off. He looked like Josh Jacobs today. Bro is not having it.
I didn't even know Josh Jacobs was hurt, to be honest.
Yeah. Like with Josh Jacobs out, having this kind of game and then not having, I mean, Devontae got targeted 6 times. He had 4 yards with 1 reception. Like when you, I'm going to read you the stats, the receiver stats this game, and you would not expect this to be a winning game. Jacoby Myers, 5 targets, 3 receptions, 42 yards. That's the most. Austin Hooper, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 13 yards. Cole Fotheringham. That's literally his name. Cole Fotheringham. 1 target, 1 reception, 6 yards. Devontae Adams, 6 targets, 4 yards, 1 reception.
Hell yeah.
Like that stat line, those guys, none of that screams win.
Yeah, I think to keep the Raiders head coach here next year, it's literally just gonna be like Max Crosby has to speak up for him, because Max Crosby is
That guy.
the essence of what the Las Vegas Raiders are now. Like he's their main guy. He's their spokesperson. So if they want to keep that guy around, I don't even know his name. I think his name's like starts with an R or something, but it's got to be Max Crosby.
All right.
Alrighty, Baltimore versus the 49ers. I think did you take Baltimore, Dev? You took them?
That was the
Which
game
crazy.
decider. That was the
It
week
is.
decider. I won the week on that game.
They are my team. And the reason why I said they were going to lose is because Lamar Jackson had to be the running back and the quarterback. And I thought that was going to be a detriment to their offense. Turns out that, again, I don't know how long he can continue being the running back and the quarterback, but today it worked out for them. Let's go. Lamar Jackson, 23 for 35, 252 yards and 2 TDs, 7 carries for 45 yards. He had more yards than Gus Edwards. He had the most amount of rushing yards on the team. So he was that running back today. Zay
Literally.
Flowers truly has blossomed tonight. 9 receptions, 72 yards and 1 touchdown.
13 targets. Crazy.
13 targets is crazy. And that was the thing, is that their offense really wasn't even like that crazy. It was just their defense. Their defense went absolutely insane. 59 total tackles, 35 solos, 4 sacks, 5 tackle for losses, and 9 QB hits with 5 interceptions.
5. 4 on Brock and 1 on Darnold, right?
Yeah, 1 on Darnold with 2 coming from Kyle Hamilton. Kyle Hamilton had a hell of a game, especially with that one play where he got chop blocked with that penalty, and then he gets up and then goes and gets the interception. Hell of a game from Kyle Hamilton.
5
What has
total
he
tackles
done?
too.
What has he done for the
3
year?
solo. 3 solo tackles. Huh?
I think he's done for the year, bro.
Who?
Oh, did he get hurt?
Kyle Hamilton, bro.
Did he get
His
hurt?
his knee, like,
Oh yeah.
Oh, I was laying on the floor with my dog trying.
it had to have been like third quarter, I think.
Yeah, that's when I was laying on the floor with my.
I thought you
dog.
were asking what has he done this year. I was like,
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
know,
like,
bro.
What has he done? No, he's been going crazy.
I was like, bro, I don't know.
No,
All right,
he's done a lot, but hopefully he's not done.
Yeah, hopefully he's not done. Let's get into San Fran. San Fran actually had a better offensive performance than the Ravens,
I
but
don't
they
know about
still
that.
lost.
I don't know about
Here,
that, but go
here,
ahead.
we'll get into the stats. Brock Purdy,
Oh my
18 for
gosh.
32. Ooh, 18 for 32. Dev, can you do the stats on me? What's the completion ratio? What's the completion ratio percentage for 18 for 32?
It's
255
like
yards,
50.
4
50.
interceptions.
56%.
Sacked only twice. He was only sacked 2 times.
56%.
56%, pretty low for what he usually is. Christian McCaffrey, 14 carries, 103 yards, 1 TT. The White Saint still comes out and performs no matter what, even when they lose.
Great way, I hope.
George Kittle, 7 receptions, 126 yards. Brandon Ayuk, 6 receptions, 113 yards. And
Jeez.
Debo, 4 receptions for 47 yards. Debo had a low game today. A very off game. Brandon
12
Ayuk,
targets,
yeah, I know.
4
But
receptions.
yeah, but
Jeez.
that's the thing with having a Pro Bowler in every slot is that they shut down Debo. Brandon Ayuk picks up the
But
slack with a.
12 targets for 4 receptions is terrible.
I know he's been talking a lot of smack too. It's not a good.
Debo
game.
had 3 or 4 drops, I'm pretty sure, tonight. And I think
Jeez.
one of them was one of the picks that like bounced off of him and then got picked.
Jeez.
So now we'll get into the team stats really quick. Baltimore had 343 total yards. San Francisco had 429 total yards. And the rest of the stats, first down, third down completions, all that other stuff is very even. There's really not much to talk about there. I didn't write them down. The big one I want to talk about is total penalties. The San Francisco 49ers had 10 penalties for 102 yards.
Goodness
That is an
gracious.
entire football field, ladies and gentlemen, an entire football field. And a lot of people are saying, "Oh, that's why they won the refs." But Baltimore had 6 penalties for 67 yards, more than half, right? So we're really only looking at a 40-yard difference. Is a big difference, but I can't.
And 5 turnovers. That's just
Yeah, really, what killed them was Brock Purdy throwing 4 interceptions, Sam Darnold throwing another interception. Brock Purdy didn't throw a touchdown. Sam Darnold was the only person that threw a touchdown today.
Yeah. Yeah, it is pretty even. Looking down the looking down the barrel, I mean, passing first downs 14-14, rushing first downs 4-5, first down penalties 5-11, third down efficiency for like about the same, fourth down efficiency. They both converted one. Total plays 63-68, total drives 12-11, yards per play 5.4 to 6.3 in favor of San Francisco. Like it was a pretty close game down the line.
The only difference was total yardage, which, like I said at the beginning of this, the San Francisco 49ers had a better offensive performance, except for those interceptions. And
if they don't have those turnovers, what does this game look like?
I think,
or even
49ers
half the
win it.
turnovers.
But
bro.
here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. We just talked about the defense playing great. If you can look up the stats for the 49ers defense, they played better. The only difference is Lamar can throw when there's pressure. Brock Purdy struggles throwing when there's pressure.
Yeah, Fred Warner, 10 total tackles, 5 solo, no sacks. Outside of that, that's like the big name. Nick Bosa, 3 total tackles, 3
No, there was another guy.
solos.
He's like number 33.
Dre
on the
Greenlaw,
defense.
12
him.
total tackles, 2 solos.
They kind of shut down Bosa tonight. I didn't really see him much. You know, another stat that I saw that was kind of crazy. It was like Kyle Shanahan is 0-37 when trailing 8+ points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
Which I'm like,
running team.
that's wild. But like, and because I was like, oh, they don't really trail that much. But I'm like, but he's 0-37 as a coach. Like, so he obviously that's 37 times that he hasn't been able to.
It's the
come
problem
back.
with the offensive scheme that they run, is that they
Finesse.
have to be ahead. They have to be. I don't know.
They're not.
a lot of hate
They're
thrown
not
at
they're not a play from behind team.
So a couple quick pointers is I want to say that I think the reason why the 49ers struggled against the Ravens is that their offense struggles in the red zone against a good defense. Because that's what really killed them today is when they got into the red zone, they were getting stopped. And on the other side of the ball, Lamar Jackson was also getting stopped. But then you also had Gus Edwards, who the bus, who could make it happen. I think the 49ers offense is great at making those, like people have told me before, yak monsters. But once they get it down within the 20, the 10, against a really good red zone defense like the Baltimore Ravens, we saw them today struggle.
Well, usually they just hand it off to McCaffrey.
Yeah. And I mean, like we said, like they out yardaged the entire Baltimore Ravens offense, right? So before they get to the red zone, they're moving the ball. They're playing great. Once they get in the red zone, that's when things slow down for them. And I think if we remember my prediction is if the Ravens and 49ers play in the Super Bowl, the 49ers will win because whoever lost this game is going to win the Super Bowl. I still believe that for the NFL script. But from like a football perspective of me watching the game, I would say the same thing would happen because if they can't make these big, great plays like they're used to making, it's really hard for them to score.
Yeah.
Unless
Super Bowl's
Christian
a whole different
McCaffrey,
animal, though.
Yeah, true. Because I mean, we've seen the Carolina Panthers who went like I'm not going to say the record. I don't know it off the top of my head, but
2-12.
No. Carolina Panthers when they went to the Super Bowl
with Cam.
17-1.
Yeah, 17-1, and then they get blown out by the Denver Broncos. So I agree with you. Super Bowl's entirely different beast. So we don't know what's going to happen, but
because it's one game to win it all, and you just do what works. You don't try and like you play head games a little bit, but it's not a 7-game series. Every game is a game 7. Like you're just doing what works. You're not fooling around trying to play head games, do anything like that. You're doing what works. So,
all right, Trev, any final thoughts on Ravens versus 49ers?
No, but I do agree with you that I kind of thought the same thing. Whoever wins, the opposite team's going to win the Super Bowl. So yeah, I'm kind of feeling like script wise, it would be perfect that, the 49ers avenge themselves. Like, so.
Well, it just, when I talk about the script, all it is like, what makes the less amount of sense. Right. And we always go with that. Right. So 49ers lose. Right now, everybody's talking again. Is Brock Purdy really the MVP? Is Brock Purdy and the 49ers really that great? Right. And then they make it to the Super Bowl. And then it's going to be like Ravens just whooped the 49ers ass. Ravens are going to win. And then 49ers are going to win because it's going to be somewhat of an upset. That's the only reason behind the script, is that it just makes for quote unquote good football. And I think that's going to happen because the NFL is scripted.
We did a little recap of today on Christmas Day games. If you want to see more of us, you can catch us on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at buffet.sports. We post every day, if not twice a day. On Thursdays, we talk about the dumpster bowl that the NFL puts out every week. Please like, follow, all that kind of stuff. We appreciate you guys. Merry Christmas. That's Travis. That's Zane. I'm Devin. Ciao, gents.